So now let us look at the next option creep, which is called as delta. So by definition of delta, delta is by how many points does the option premium change for every 1 point of the underlying stock or the index that is changing. Okay, so if the underlying stock moves by 10 points, how much my option premium would change? If it's like positive 10 points, how much the option premium would change? Or if it also falls, how much does the option premium change? That is what delta is trying to explain us. So the underlying asset on which the options trading is done, if that underlying assets moves by like 10 points or 20 points, then how much that reflects in my option premium. Okay, and the delta score is defined between positive number 0 to 1 for a call option, and it's a negative number between -1 to 0 for a put option. So let's try to understand this by looking at an example. We are going to look at the Nifty index, which is currently trading at 17,500 at morning 10 a.m. Okay, and we are going to calculate the option premium at say like 3 p.m. in the evening if the delta score is some number, like say zero point 0.2 or something. In that case, what would be the option premium if the stock or the index, the Nifty index that we have seen here, if it moves up and closes at say 17,600? In that case, what would be my option premium, new price of the option premium? So 17,500 is my price or the index that is currently trading at morning 10 a.m. and the option strike price that I have chosen is 17,550. Okay, so the premium costs me 60 rupees, and if say the delta is 0.2, okay, then the Nifty index at 3 p.m. is expected to reach 17,600. These are assumption. In such a scenario, if the Nifty is going to go up in the positive direction and reaches 17,600, what would be the new premium of the strike price of 17,550 for me? Okay, since currently it's 10 a.m., the premium was 60 rupees and it is going to go up and it's going to reach 17,600. I'm definitely going to expect my option premium also to increase. So by how much is it that we are going to do the calculation here? So the change in index is from 17,600 minus 17,500. So 100-point movement has happened between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. in Nifty. So if 100 points are being moved up on the underlying asset, which is Nifty index, then my option premium, which was at 60 rupees at morning 10 a.m., how much would it have moved? It is calculated using this formula. Change in index into the delta of the option. Okay, which is, what is the change in index? Which is 17,600 minus 17,500, which is 100 points. And what was the delta? The delta of the option was 0.2. So you multiply the delta with the change in the underlying assets points, which comes to rupees 20. So since it's a call option, we are having the delta as a positive 0.2, and the market has moved up from 17,500 to 17,600. So you get rupees 20 added to your premium. So the new premium at 3 p.m. for the 17,550 call option would be 60 plus 20, which is equal to 80. Okay, if the Nifty reaches at 17,600. So this is our base assumption on which we have done this calculation. This is just to give you an idea how the option premium gets affected if the delta is at 0.2. So what if the delta is at 0.4? Everything remains the same, but you would get the option premium to increase much more than this number, because if the delta is 0.4, then you substitute that one in here in this formula and it becomes 100 into 0.4, which is 40 points, and you add that 40 to your original number of 60, you would get the new premium as 100. So the higher the delta is, okay, the option premium also will be much higher. All right, so let's look at how the delta works with the spot price. So the graph here shows the delta at origin, which is at 0, and above this you have for the call option, which, as I said, the score for a delta in a call option is between 0 to +1, and the score for a put option would be represented as 0 to -1. Okay, so if the underlying spot, okay, this is the underlying spot price. Here we have the OTM, which is out of the money. Here is the ATM, which is at the money, current spot market price, and on the right you have the in the money. Okay, in such a scenario, as the prices move towards the ATM or the ITM, the delta also gradually increases and reaches 1.0, which is the highest. Okay, and this is, as you can see, this is not a straight line, it's a curve. Similarly, for a put option, as we go gradually from out of the money into the at the money and in the money, the put option delta also reaches minus 1.0, which is the highest for it. Okay, so the point here is, if the strike prices that we choose are far away from the ATM, which are OTM, okay, the farther it is, then the delta is going to be nearer to zero, which means that the prices would not fluctuate, the option premiums would not fluctuate as much as they are which are closer to the ATM or IDM. Okay, so here this is the area, this particular area is where you see the huge movement in the option premiums, but as it goes far away from the current market price, the delta is also nearing to zero, which means there will be very slight movement in the option premiums of OTM call or a put option. So the delta of an option is a variable, which means it changes with the underlying stock price movement. So the delta of an option also tells that it is the probability of an contract to expire in the money, which means the in the money option strike prices will have probability very close to 1.0, which means as the stock moves, like say 100 points, and the delta for an in the money, deep in the money option strikes will also have the probability of closer to 1.0. It may not be exact, but very close, 0.9 or 0.95, 0.99, something like that, which tells that there will be equal movement in the option premium as well of deep in the money options. And what would be the delta for at the money? If there is enough time value left in the contract, let's assume that the at the money delta would be 0.5, because it can take either direction in the market, either it can go down or up, so the probability is 0.5. And if you're too far away from the current market price, if it's like far deeper out of the money call options, then it would be tending closer to zero, which means there would be very slight to no movement in the option premiums if the underlying stock is moving some X number of points. So finally, the buying the deep in the money option strikes is as good as buying the underlying stock itself, because it's going to be having a probability of close to 1.0, and as the stock moves say 10 points, even your option premium would move 10 points up or down, whatever it is. Okay, so the probability is closer to 1.0. That's the reason we say buying deep in the money is as good as buying the underlying stock itself, because the delta is closer to 1.0, or if it's a put option, it will be closer to minus 1.0.